Ian Lee Scalloway.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. Well, we're coming almost now to the end of the debate on the Dairy Industry Restructuring New Sunset Provisions Amendment Bill, which is a reasonably technical but nevertheless very important bill for New Zealand's dairy industry, which we all know and acknowledge in the House is such a huge driver of our economy and such an important component of our economy, and certainly in my electorate of Palmerston North, although it's a virtually wholly urban electorate, I think I could probably just about count on one hand the number of paddocks we have in the electorate. Nevertheless, the fact that we have Massey University, the fact that we have the Crown Research Institutes, the fact that we have Fonterra actually carrying out their research and development in the city, and of course a number of a very large rural service industry in the electorate as well. It's a pretty big deal to my constituents that we do everything we can to ensure that the dairy industry is able to operate efficiently and appropriately in this country. And of course this bill does seek to do that by extending the period of time which Fonterra must provide fixed price dairy solids to other dairy processors in order to foster competition in the domestic industry. And the original bill, which was enacted in 2001, set a sunset clause for this requirement in terms of market share of dairy processing. But at the moment, there just isn't the confidence that when this threshold is met, the independent processors will have developed enough to keep the market competitive, and that's why these new sunset provisions have been brought in by the government, and that's why the Labour opposition is very, very happy to support this bill. We do want to see a healthy domestic dairy processing market so that consumers potentially have lower prices available to them, and of course a lot more choice. But of course what we're also really looking for is much greater added value to our dairy primary products, and of course we seek added value to all our other primary produce as well. We do have some reservations about the bill. These have been discussed, I think, at some length at all readings of the bill, and last night in the Committee of the Whole House as well. But we do have some reservations about the future of the industry, just how long this subsidy for the smaller operators can go on. We also have some issues with where we're going in terms of foreign investment in our dairy industry and what that means for New Zealanders' ability to own our own future, given the importance of this industry to our economy. And also I think it does have to be noted, Mr Speaker, that a lot of people in New Zealand are very, very concerned about the price of milk. And of course a sign of good competition, which is what this bill is all about, is that prices come down. But we have seen the price of milk and other dairy products going up and up and up, and far outstripping any increase in wages in the country. And so people, particularly those on middle and lower incomes, trying to feed their families, trying to feed them well, put good nutritional meals on the table, are finding that a little bit harder because the price of milk has gone up so much. And of course the threshold that is currently, the threshold that this bill is changing, currently sits at 12.5% market share of the collected raw milk for independent processors in the North Island, and a 10% market share for South Island processors, and of course that currently excludes the West Coast, which is one of the changes that was made at the Select Committee, which was, I think, a sensible change by the committee. These thresholds, as they stand currently, are likely to be reached about now. Or now for the North Island, and about this time next year for the South Island. And as I said, there's just a feeling that the independent dairy processors haven't quite reached the point where they can stand on their own without the support that this bill provides. So extending those provisions gives an opportunity for that industry to develop a little bit further. We were, I suppose, on this side of the House a little bit perplexed by the timing of this piece of legislation. In fact, the first reading of the bill occurred just one day after the Minister had announced a review of Fonterra's obligation to supply milk to independent dairy processors. So it could turn out that all of this ultimately is for naught, and that the Minister will come back with the results of that review and throw this bill out altogether, and we'll find that all this work, good work from the Primary Production Select Committee, an excellent chair sitting listening intently over there, that all that work could be for naught, and that would be unfortunate, and perhaps the government needs to just make sure that the left hand knows what the right hand is doing. The review took place last month, and now we wait to see if its findings and recommendations will actually make this bill redundant. And we wonder if perhaps that review should have taken a little bit earlier, so that the bill and any changes arising from it could have fallen out of that review, rather than the two sort of happening in parallel. And it's quite possible we'll be back here next year debating more changes. But we do support the review of Fonterra's obligations to supply milk to its competitors, because it is, I suppose, a bit of a concern that companies such as Synlait and Open Country Dairy, which are owned by offshore interests, are being subsidised by New Zealand farmers. And we do think that we have to ensure that foreign investment into New Zealand companies, New Zealand businesses and New Zealand farms, whilst we don't want to cut it off altogether, we have to make sure that that foreign investment is actually working for New Zealand. And we don't think that we've quite got the criteria right around that at the moment to ensure that foreign investment is working for New Zealand. A final point, Mr. Speaker, and that is around the price of milk. This bill is all about competition, and as I said, one of the indicators that competition is working well is that the price of raw milk and the price of the milk that people buy at the supermarket will be coming down, and that's just simply not happening at the moment. In fact, the price of a litre of home brand milk at Foodtown has increased by 20%, or 37 cents, since April 2008, and that is certainly of concern to a number of people in New Zealand, and we wonder when the government is going to address that. But in closing, Mr. Speaker, this is a good technical bill that will serve the dairy industry well, and the Labour opposition is more than happy to support it.
Mr. Speaker, I'm not going to take too much of the House's time, but I did want to echo the comments made by my excellent colleagues, and I'd like to particularly note the work of the Chair of the Primary Production Select Committee, Shane Ardern. He's done a magnificent job, and he probably has one of the greatest understandings of the agricultural sector of anyone in this Parliament. I'd also like to make an acknowledgement to every single one of our primary producers here in New Zealand, because it's on the back of their hard work that we're able to afford things like health, education, law and order, and of course the protection of the environment. So to all our primary producers and the agricultural sector, you do a magnificent job. Long may that continue.
The question is that the motion be agreed to. Those of that opinion will say aye. Contrary, no. The ayes have it. Party vote. The clerk will conduct a party vote.
New Zealand National.
58 votes in favour.
New Zealand Labour.
42 votes in favour.
Green Party.
9 votes opposed.
ACT New Zealand.
5 votes in favour.
Maori Party.
4 votes opposed.
Progressive.
1 vote in favour.
United Future.
1 vote in favour.
The Honourable Chris Carter.
1 vote opposed.
Hone Harawira.
1 vote opposed.
The ayes are 107, the noes are 15. The motion is agreed to.
Dairy Industry Restructuring New Sunset Provisions Amendment Bill, third reading.
Call on Government Order of the Day number 8,